We continue now at the top of Daf Mem Tesam and Beis in Meseches Sotah. This is Sotah Daf 49b. The Gemara continues the statement of Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol that the Amei Haaretz Azla v'Dildala, some have the gears of Azla Menavla, they continue to diminish. Ve'ein Shoel, ve'ein Mevakesh, there's no one that asks, there's no one that seeks on behalf of Klal Yisrael. Al mi yesh leishon, who can we rely on? Al Avinu Shabbas Shamayim, only on our Father in the heavens. And the Gemara continues, Be'ikvus Mashiach. Rashi says, Be'ikvus HaMashiach. Besof HaGolus, it means at the end of the Golus, Lifnei Bias Mashiach, before the coming of Mashiach, Chutzpah Yiske, there's going to be an increase in Chutzpah, V'yoker Yamir, and the prices are going to go up. Hagefen Titein Pirya V'hayayin B'yoker, the vine is going to produce its fruit. There's going to be plenty of grapes, there's going to be plenty of wine, but still wine will be very expensive. Rashi explains V'hayayin B'yoker Sha'akol Oskin B'mishtos, because everybody is getting drunk, they're all participating in feasts. Umalchus Tehafech Leminus, and the kingdom, the government, will turn to heresy. V'ein tochachas, and there's no one that can offer rebuke. And Rashi explains V'ein tochacha ein l'cha adam sheyuchal lahochiach. There's nobody that's able to give rebuke. Shakulam nechshalim b'chatos, because everybody is stumbling in these sins. And when one person gives rebuke to another, Omer lo, the person says back, Atzah kamoni, you're just like me. And the Gemara continues, Beis vad yiyel is nus, the gathering places of the Chachamim, they will turn into znus. Rashi says, Ubeis havad shel Chachamim yiyu lebeis znus. The areas where the Chachamim gather, they're going to turn into houses of prostitution. Shekalu hachachamim ve'ein lomei Torah. There won't be any more Chachamim. No one's learning Torah. V'yecharim meinish. Nobody will be in these houses of learning. Ubalei zimah esgodim sham v'nei shechutz le'ir hayu batei midrasha shalhem. Because these batei midrashas were outside of the city, so people who are involved in znus, they're going to gather in these former batei medrash. And then the Gemara continues, V'hagalil yecharev, and the Galil will be destroyed. V'hagavlan yashim, and the Gavlan, that's also an area that also is going to be desolate. V'anshe hagvul yisovavu me'ir le'ir, and the people of the border, they're going to go from city to city, v'lo yechonenu, and nobody will offer them any favor. V'chachmos sofrim tisrach, and the wisdom of the scribes, it will diminish. V'yirei chet yemasu, and those who fear sin, they will be despised. V'oemes tehei nederes, and the truth will be hidden. Na'orim pnei zekenim yalbinu, the young ones, they're going to shame the older people. Zekenim yamdu mipnei katanim, elders will stand before the katanim, before the young ones. Ben menavel of, a son will act in a disrespectful way to his father. Bas kama be'ima kala b'chamosa, a daughter will go against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Oivei ish anshe beis, so the enemies of man will be the people in his own household. Pnei hador ke pnei hakelev, the face of the generation will be like the face of a dog. Haben eino misbayesh me'aviv, the son will not be embarrassed from his father. V'al ma yesh lanu lehishoyin, and on what can we rely? Al Avinu Shabbas Shamayim, on our Father in heaven. And we will take a look at the Mosef Rashi. These are Rashis from Sanhedrin, where the same section over here is mentioned over there. V'agavlan mokom shekach shemo, Gavlan is the name of a place. Yoshim yishtomim, again, the Gavlan will be desolate. V'anshe hagvul, the people of the borders. Anshe gvul Eretz Yisrael, it means the people who live on the borders of Eretz Yisrael, they're going to have to go around seeking charity. L'shnachrina anshe gozis Sanhedrin, some have a different version, anshe gozis, meaning it refers to the Sanhedrin. They're going to have to go around seeking charity. Na'orim yalbinu pnei zakenim kilomar yechbaru v'yevaishu osam, they're going to embarrass, they're going to disgrace the elders. And zakenim yamdu mipnei ketanim, the elders will stand up in front of the ketanim lechabdim, to honor them. V'hainu damrina be'ikvas hamashiach chutzpah yiske, that's the same idea as there's going to be an increase in chutzpah. Bas kama be'imo lecherpo levaish, again, a daughter will embarrass her mother. Pnei hador ke pnei hakelev, the face of the generation will be like the face of a dog. The damyon mamish lekelev, they'll actually look like dogs. Lishna achrina ke pnei hakelev shelo yisbaishu zemizeh, or it means like the face of a dog, meaning they won't be embarrassed one from another. And the Gemara says, Amar Rav says, Lo shanu ela shel melech v'gofres. When the Mishnah says that they made a gzeira against the Ataras Chasanim, that's only talking about the crowns of Chasanim that are made out of salt and sulfur. Aval shel hadas v'shel vered mutter, but if it's made out of myrtle or roses, it is mutter. Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel says, Af shel hadas v'shel vered aser, even if it's made of myrtle and roses, it's aser. Shel kanim v'shel chelas mutter, but if it's made of different kinds of reeds, that's mutter. V'levi Amar, and Levi says, Af shel kanim v'shel chelas aser, even if it's made of these kinds of reeds, it's aser. V'chein tani Levi b'masnisa af shel kanim v'shel chelas aser, and that's also what Levi taught in his brisa. Even if it's made of reeds, of these kinds of reeds, it is also forbidden. And Rashi says, Shel melach v'shel gafris, of salt and sulfur, inyan atar, this was a kind of crown, osin me evan shel melach, it was made out of salt stones, shoot sola kevin, it was a very clear, kevin habdolach, it was a very clear kind of stone, v'korin shalemia, v'tsovan osakim in siyur and begafris, they use sulfur to make designs on it, kashem she'osin b'chlei zahav v'kesev v'korin ne'ula, it's like the same kind of designs they make on gold and silver vessels. And Rashi continues, chelis, that's kimin guma hagadol b'mayim, it's similar to a kind of reed that grows in the water. Some identify this as bulrush. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, V'yalo irus, they made a gezerah on the irus. My irus, what is irus? Amar Rebbe Elazar says, Tavla dechad puma, it's a bell with one clapper. Rashi over here says, Tavla dechad puma, zug shel invil echad. Again, it's got one clapper in the bell, shemekashkish and bo, lashir beveis hamishtos. They use it for music in the feasts. And the Gemara continues, Rabba bar Rav Huna avid le levrei tanbura. Rabba bar Rav Huna, he made for his son a tambourine. Asa avu atavre, so his father came and broke it. Amar le said to him, Michlaf betavla dechad puma, what you just made over here, this tambourine, it's going to get confused with this kind of bell that is forbidden. And so he told him instead, Zil avid le apuma dechatzva, make it instead on the mouth of a jug, or apuma de kafizer, on the mouth of a small container. And Rashi says, Tanbura kach kornoso b'lashon laz. Tanbur, it's called Tanbur. V'wasay dafnosov agulos ke'inaf, it's like the walls are round, like a sieve. V'koshen b'dafnosov chutin shel barzel, then they take these threads of iron and they tie it to the walls. V'shotchen al piv or, and they put over it a kind of a hide, a kind of a skin. Kishulachu mosech, when it's moist and it's able to stretch, then it dries over there, and then they hit it with a stick, it makes like a nice noise, almost like a drum. And there are people who know how to hit it, and they're able to make music out of it. So he said, that's going to get confused with this kind of a bell with one clapper. It is a similar sound, says Rashi. So therefore, it's going to end up that people are going to start making the one which there's a gezerah against it. And so he said, instead, you should stretch it over kfiza, kli machzik, gimel lugan, stretch it over the small container that holds 3 lugan. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, but Pulmas shel Titus, during the campaign of Titus, Gozral Ataras Kalas, they made a gezer against the crowns of kalas, of brides. My Ataras Kalas, what are Ataras Kalas? Amar Rabba bar Barchana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabba bar Barchana says that Rabbi Yochanan says, Ir shel Zav, it refers to the city of gold. That means to say a golden crown that has engraved within it a city of gold. Tanya Nami Hachi, we have a brisa like this as well. Ezu Ataras Kalas, what are Ataras Kalas? Ir shel Zav, again, that's the city of gold. Aval osa kipa shel milas, but you are allowed to make for her a cap of fine wool. That's for the kala. Tana was taught, afal chupas chasanim gazru. They also made a gezerah against the canopy of chasanim, of the grooms. My chupas chasanim, what is this chupas chasanim? Zahoris hamuzavos, it refers to crimson cloth, and you have gold that's interwoven within it. Tanya nami hachi, we have a brisa like this as well. Elohein chupas chasanim, zahoris hamuzavos. What are chupas chasanim? Again, it's crimson cloth with gold. Aval osa papyrus v'tola ba kol mashiyirtza. But you are allowed to make this canopy out of wood and then hang from it whatever you want. Rashi says, Zahoris hamuzavos talis tzavua shani. Again, it's like a talis that's colored red, it's crimson. Ubo kavuin tasei zavat shemamidin osakim and kipa. And then they would put gold in there again, and they would put it up like a canopy. Avalosa hu prefir, but you're allowed to make prefir. Kamin kipa shel magleitz. Again, that's like kind of lattice work that's made out of wood. Kemosha nuosin, as we make it. V'tolen but snifin or didei zav kemosha nuosin, and then you can hang from there what you want. You can hang from there golden ornaments. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, V'shalo yilamed es beno Yavanis, there was a gezerah that a person shouldn't teach his son Greek. Tanu Rabban, and the rabbis taught, Keshetzaru malchei beis Chashmonai zeh al zeh, when the house of the Chashmonaim, this is the brothers Hyrcanus and Aristobulus, when they're having a war one against the other, Haya Hyrcanus mi b'achutz v'Aristobulus mi b'fnim. Hyrcanus was on the outside of Yerushalayim, and Aristobulus was within, meaning Hyrcanus was placing a siege on Yerushalayim. Rashi says, Haya Hyrcanus mi b'achutz tzar al Yerushalayim. He was besieging Yerushalayim, v'hevi imo chayil romiyim, and he had with him the soldiers, the Roman soldiers. And again, Aristobulus was inside. B'chol yom v'yom hayu mishalshlan dinarim b'kup, and every day they would lower money in a box, umalan lehem tamidim, and then the people from the outside, they would raise up animals for them so they could bring the carbon tamid. There was a certain elder there, and he knew the wisdom of the Greeks. So he spoke to them in the language and in the wisdom of the Greeks. He said to them, as long as they're doing the service in the Beis HaMikdash, they're not going to be given over into your hands. So the next day they lowered for them money, bekupa in a box, and instead they raised for them a pig. When it got halfway up the wall, part of it stuck its fingernails into the wall. And the Eretz Yisrael, the entire Eretz Yisrael, 400 parsa, it shook. And at that time they said, cursed is the person who raises pigs, and cursed is the person who teaches his son the wisdom of the Greeks. When it was about that year that they taught that the Omer came from a faraway place, Gagos Trifim, and also the Shtei Halechem came from far away, Mibikas Ein Socher, from the valley of Ein Socher. And Rashi over here comments, there was an elder on the inside of the wall, and he told the people on the outside, he was able to hint it to them in a way that the others couldn't understand. And Rashi continues, there was a Chil Hashem over here, and that's why the whole Eretz Yisrael shook when the Chazir stuck its nails into the wall. The point over here, the Gemara, is that year the soldiers destroyed all the plants, which were around Yerushalayim, and so they had to bring the Omer from far away, from Gagos Trifim, really, the mitzvah is to bring it from an area close to Yerushalayim. It has to be a moist kind of a zera. When it comes from far away, it already dries out. And so therefore, really, it's best that it comes from close by. And the point is that year it was impossible to bring it from close by. And the Gemara continues, Ini, is this really true, that there's a problem teaching one's son Chachmas Yevonis? V'amar Rebbe, but didn't Rebbe say, Be'eretz Yisrael, Lashon Sursi Lam, in Eretz Yisrael, why do they speak Lashon Sursi? Lashon Sursi refers to a dialect of Aramaic that they spoke in Eretz Yisrael, the dialect that's used also in the Talmud, Yerushalmi. Why do they speak that? Ela'i Lashon HaKodesh, Lashon Yevonis. Either they should speak Lashon HaKodesh Hebrew, or they should speak Greek. And you see from Rebbe's statement that it's okay to speak the language of Greek. V'amar Rav Yosef, and Rav Yosef said, Be'bavel Lashon Arami Lam, in Bavel, what's the point of speaking Aramaic? Ela'o Lashon HaKodesh, either speak Lashon HaKodesh, speak Hebrew, or Lashon Parsi, or speak Persian. And so the Gemara answers, Lashon Yevonis l'chud v'chachmas Yevonis l'chud. There's a difference between the Greek language, that's okay, but the wisdom of the Greeks, that's a problem. But the Gemara continues, V'chachmas Yevonis mi asir, is the wisdom of the Greeks really prohibited. V'yamar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel mishum Rav Shimon Gamliel, but Rav Yehuda said that Shmuel said in the name of Rav Shimon Gamliel, and Rashi takes out the words Mai Dechsiv. He said as follows, Eini ololo l'nafshi, my eye affects my soul. Rashi says that's a reference to the fact that he was crying, Mikol benos iri, more than all the daughters of my city. Why was he crying so much? Why was he suffering? He said as follows, Elef Yelodim hayu bebeis Abba, there were 1,000 children in my father's house, Chamesh meos lamdu Torah, 500 learned Torah, V'chamesh meos lamdu chachmas Yevonis, and 500 learned the wisdom of the Greeks. And the only ones that remain are myself here, and the son of my brother, and the son of the brother of my father, rather, in Asya. And so he was crying because of the great loss that happened to his family. So in any case, you see over here that they learned Chachmas Yevonis. And the Gemara answers to that, Shani shel beis Rebbe Gamliel, it's different the house of Rebbe Gamliel, to Krovin l'malchus hava, because they were close to the government, and therefore they needed to know the language and the wisdom of the government. The Tanya, as we learned in a Brisa, Mispar Kumi harezami darcheo amor, if you get a haircut of Kumi, if you get this kind of style haircut where essentially you shave off all the hair that's in front of the ears, and you only have hair growing in the back of the head. So that's a haircut that Jews are not allowed to have because it's darchei Amori, it's the ways of the Amori. And Avtulas ben Ruven hitiru l'saper kumi, but Avtulas ben Ruven, he was allowed to get this kind of a haircut. Shukarav l'malchus, because he was close to the government. And furthermore, like we just said a moment ago, Shal Beis Rebbe Gamliel hitiru lehen chachmas Yevonis. Those in the house of Rebbe Gamliel, they allowed them to know the wisdom of the Greeks. Again, mimnei shekroven l'malchus, because they were close to the government. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, but Pulmasa Achron Gazru Shalotetze Kala Bapirian V'chulu. So it said that in the last campaign they made a gezerah that the Kala should not go out with the canopy, but then it says that the Chachamim, they allowed it. And the Gemara says, my time, and what's the reason that the Chachamim allowed it? Mishum Tzniusa, because it was a way for the Kala to be modest. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, Mishameis Rabbi Yochanan Batal HaChachma, from the time Rabbi Yochanan died, wisdom was Batal. Tana Rabban and the rabbis taught, Mishameis Rabbi Eliezer Nignaz Sefer Torah. From when Rabbi Eliezer dies, it was as if a Sefer Torah had been hidden away. Mishameis Rabbi Yoshua Batal Eitzo Machshava. From when Rabbi Yoshua died, there was no longer counsel and Machshava and great thought. Mishameis Rabbi Akiva Batalu Zeroe Torah. From when Rabbi Akiva died, the strong ones of the Torah, that was Batal V'nestatmu Mainos HaChachma, and the fountains of wisdom were closed off. Mishameis Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Batalu Ataras Chachma. When Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah died, the crowns of wisdom were Batal. Sha'ateres Chachamim Ashram, because the crown of the Chachamim is their wealth. Mishameis Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. From when Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa died, Batalu Anshe Maisa, the men of great deeds, they were Batal. Mishameis Abba Yossi ben Katunta. From when Abba Yossi ben Katunta died, Batalu Chasidim, the pious ones were Batal. V'lama Nikra Shema Abba Yossi ben Katunta. Why was he called Abba Yossi ben Katunta? Shaya Mikitane Chasidim, because he was from the smallest of the pious individuals. Mishameis ben Azai. From when Ben Azai died, Batlo Hashakdonim, those who were diligent in learning Torah were Batal. Mishameis ben Zomer. From when Ben Zomer died, Batlo Hadarshanim, the Darshanim were Batal. Mishameis Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. From the time that Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel died, Alu Goboy, so there were swarms of locusts, V'rabu Tsaros, and there were a lot of Tsaros, a lot of afflictions. Mishameis Rebbe, and from when Rebbe died, Huchvalu Tsaros, there were double the amount of afflictions. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, Mishameis Rebbe Batal Anava v'Yir Aschet. We said earlier that when Rebbe died, Anava, humility, and Yir Aschet were Batal. Amar le Rav Yosef Latana. Rav Yosef said to the Tana, Lo Tisni Anava, don't teach this halacha about Anava. De'ika Anava, because there's myself. I still have Anava. I have humility. It's not totally Batal. Amar le Rav Nachman Latana, and Rav Nachman said to the Tana, Lo Tisni Yir Aschet. You shouldn't learn the Yir Aschet part either. De'ika Anava, because there's myself. I still have Yir Aschet. And Rashi explains, when Rabbi Elazar died, Nignaz Sefer Torah was like a Sefer Torah was stored away. Sheyabal halachas mipi shmo harbe. He knew many halachas that he had from tradition. Usturos befiv, and they were very organized. Kilu kasav b'sefer, as if they were written in a Sefer. Kedamar b'Sanhedrin, like we say in Sanhedrin, harbe Torah lamarat mirabosai v'lo ora l'shani shona shloshes alaf halachas b'netiyos kishuin u'shlosh meos b'baharasaza. He lists off all of these halachas that he was knowledgeable about. And Rashi continues, after Rabbi Yoshua, there was no longer Eitzo Machshava Sheyazar B'drashas. He was careful in drashas, Ubaki B'alachas, an expert in halachas, Uvitshuvas Apikorsim, and he knew how to respond to the Apikorsim. Ulahavin Birimzehem Kedamrinim Perakam Dechagigo Kinachnav Sheyamr Le Rabbanan. When he was dying, the Rabbanan said to him, Mai Tahavi Alon Miminim, what are we going to do with the heretics? Amar Leni said to them, Avda Eitzim Ibnei Yisrael, Nisrach Chachma Shalov Dekochavim, you don't need to worry. Once the counsel is lost from the Jewish people, so also the wisdom is also becomes spoiled. It's also lost by the idol worshippers in the same measure. And Rashi continues, after Rabbi Akiva, there was no longer Zeroe Torah. What that means is Omek Svara V'lismach Taimei Torah Shabal Peh Al Midrash HaMikros. It means the depth of Svara, to be able to support the reasons of the Torah Shabal Peh and the drashas of Psukim, V'osios, Hayaserim, and extra letters, U'Lashonos HaMishtanim Mikra, and different changes in the language of the pasuk. And Rashi continues, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Asher Havin. Not only was Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah a scholar, he was also wealthy. Kedamrina, like we say in Meseches Shabbos, Tracer Alfei Egle having Meiser Me'edrei Kol Shasa. The Meiser from his flock every year was 12,000 calves. And Rav Yosef says, Dika Anosh Ani Invason, myself, I am a humble person. Hadron Aloch Egel Arufos Likala Meseches Sotah. This is the conclusion of Meseches Sotah. If you're enjoying these videos and this channel, please like, share, and subscribe. And please take a look at the description box below to see how you can support this channel. And in the next video, we will begin Meseches Gittin.